Hi, I'm Justin Wilson. You're listening to Coast FM Grandstand.
Hi, I'm Will Power, and you're listening to Coast FM Grandstand.
Joining me today, Will Power from Team Australia and Justin Wilson from Motorsport. Thanks for joining us today. You've been out to the Southport State School today. A bit of it's been billed as a mini Ashes thing out there. How did it go this morning anyway with the kids?
Well, basically, I really flogged Justin.
Oh, I felt very outnumbered, but I suppose you could call it some kind of cricket game. It was loosely termed.
Well, I think it was 4 sixes and 10 fours or something like that. Yeah.
Do you follow the cricket? Do you follow the other sports, or is it your life totally?
Pretty much focused on
motor
motorsport, and we spend so much time in the States that they don't really understand the cricket.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So unfortunately, I never get to watch cricket or rugby league anymore because you can't find it on TV over there. In fact, I did get to watch the State of Origin.
Yep.
A friend of mine had a cable station that he actually got it and recorded it for me and gave me the tape.
Yeah, I've heard down through the years it is very difficult for Aussie expat sports people over there. I mean, they used to show things on ESPN like Aussie Rules games and that sort of stuff, but it's still really, really hard to get the international sports like cricket, rugby league, that sort of thing, the things that we Australians grow up with,
Yeah.
and the English as well with the cricket and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, the cricket I haven't seen at all, but I know there's some places in the States now where you can pick up the soccer games and watch those. So I don't know. My life has always been focused on motorsport, and that's what interests me. So that's what I pay attention to.
Tell me a bit about that. First yourself, Justin. Where did it all start?
Well, I started when I was 8 years old racing karts. My dad used to race before I was born. He had an accident that stopped him from racing and wanted a hobby to do at the weekends, and he figured taking me to a go-kart race was, his idea of fun. Didn't realise at the time how expensive it was going to be and how life-consuming it was. We both got hooked straight away, and we've never looked back.
Yeah, I actually looked at it myself when I first moved down here from up north a while back, because we didn't have only thing that's up north in North Queensland is either speedway or drag racing. And my first trip out to Lakeside, and it was like it was actually cheaper to run a year of Formula V or something than it was to go karting.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure that out at all.
Lakeside, that's actually that was my first car race ever. I love that track. That was really awesome.
Did you race supercars around there, or just in cars?
No, Formula Ford.
Formula Ford.
Yeah. It was. I think I was like 17 at the time, and Dad took me down because he was actually racing himself in Formula Ford, and he gave me a drive. Before that, I'd been doing go karts and a bit of dirt circuit racing up on the downs.
Yep.
And he gave me a drive, and I absolutely loved it because Lakeside's a really quick track.
Yeah.
There's no slow corners, and that's basically where I learnt to drive a racing car.
Yeah, I think a lot of us Queensland motorsport lovers rue the loss of Lakeside.
Yeah. It's such a, it's like when you race in England, you go to Brands Hatch. It's similar to that. It's just got a lot of character with all the undulations and just really fast corners. It's just a lot of fun.
It's something you never used to pick up on telly, was it? I mean, Brands Hatch is spectacular, that first right-hand corner after the start-finish, right? But something on telly you never realised until you actually come down and see the track real life, that up on the top of the Eastern Loop, it was just a massive hill.
Yeah, TV never gives a track justice. It's like Bathurst when you walk down the mountain. It's incredibly steep. I don't think you really see that on TV.
You've done Bathurst, haven't you?
Yep.
And what was that like for you?
I mean, in the V8 supercar, it was awesome. I think that track's built for V8s. It's just perfect for that sort of car. But I also did the 24-hour in a Porsche, and that was really fun. I mean, I got to drive early in the morning, and just coming over one lap, and you see the sun just rising. I mean, that's probably the most fun I've ever had, I reckon, in a race, because there's no pressure, and it was just about having fun, and it didn't matter where you finished.
Did you ever go around there in a Formula Ford?
No, I didn't. I used to watch those races on TV. They're awesome, like the towing they had down the straight. You had to be, if you were in a group of 5, I think you had to be 5th on the last lap at the top of Conrod Straight if you wanted to win it. Tow past everyone.
I just thought of this actually. This Saturday, I think, will be the anniversary of the loss of Peter Brock. Was he a hero of yours growing up?
Yeah, he was actually, and also he was on the board of the Motorsport Foundation, and he actually helped me out when I was trying to get overseas with the funding and all that, and he was a friend as well.
Yeah.
So he played a bit of a part in my career.
Yeah, I remember doing a show the very next morning, an outside broadcast in a previous radio life, and it's the only time in all the years I've been doing this I didn't want to go to work that day. So we'd been up all night. I was talking with Mark, one of your old colleagues, Mark Winterbottom, on the phone that night, and I said, mate, how do we do this? Because I had to speak to him. He'd just won Sandown the week before.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a celebration show, and one of our great days. Have you, Justin, have you seen much of our V8 Supercar series?
Yeah, I've seen it over the years, and obviously coming to the Indy, we see them race then, and also on TV. And I think back in the UK, we actually started to receive it on TV, and was always amazed at how advanced the TV cameras were back in the early 90s. I think they had the full rotating cameras, and it was definitely a race to watch, and it's definitely a race I'd like to drive.
Apparently, if memory serves, I think Bathurst, one of the commercial networks, was actually invented the in-car race cam, and then eventually NASCAR in the States grabbed it, and the rest is history around the place.
It was fantastic camera work, to actually... I think they interviewed some of the drivers down the straight.
Yeah, that's right.
It was...
See Dick Johnson. And, he'd be having his lunch in the car, wasn't it?
Oh, no. It was
incredible.
I remember Peter Brock in commentary one day. I think it was Neil Crompton. He was driving a BMW going down Conrad, and he was doing the commentary going down and said, I'm putting it into fifth now, and he should have been in sixth. And you just hear Peter Brock in the commentary just losing, going, what? But he was just kidding with him. Of course. But have you ever... driven when you've been here in Australia, got a chance to jump in one of those cars at the Indy Carnival at all?
No, unfortunately not. So that's definitely something I want to do. Like I said, I'd love to go and do Bathurst sometime in my career and have some fun. Like Will said, it's good to do these kind of races that you've got no pressure. The result obviously matters, but if it goes wrong, it's not the end of the world. You're just out there driving for the love of driving. And
you would have seen it firsthand over both. You would have seen it in Europe. How does it compare to, say, DTM?
It's pretty hard to compare, actually. I've never thought about it before, but I guess both have V8s and rear-wheel drive tin tops. So I think it's probably similar. I'm not sure if the DTM put more emphasis on the downforce and the ground effects.
I think a DTM car is it's almost like a Formula 3 the way they have. I mean, they've only got 300 horsepower, I think. And they're very they're allowed to do a lot more to the cars, where V8's got a lot of horsepower.
Sure.
But they're a bit restricted on aero and suspension. But I mean, a V8 it's a tough car to drive, I reckon.
It looks like an animal. So
it is. It's a really...
You've got to master it.
You got a lot of horsepower and not that much traction, and I mean, it's a different discipline to the way we drive an open wheeler. I think in the V8 you're really concentrating on getting good exits because you haven't got much traction, so you're really slow in the middle of the corner. Where in a champ car you really you got to use the downforce on braking and in the middle of the corner. So you're carrying a lot more speed. Right.
I think Will would probably empathise with this a hell of a lot better than maybe yourself, Justin, that the culture in Australia has been very much down through the years based around touring car racing rather than, certainly in the last 25 years or so especially, rather than open wheelers. Sometimes I think that's to the detriment of the sport, frankly. How difficult is it for an Australian driver to go overseas and do it tough? We've heard about the stories of Alan Jones down through the years, and more recent times, people like Mark Webber, yourself, Will Davidson, we could rattle off quite a few names. Yeah. How tough is it? I mean, I used to make the joke, unless you're Brazilian or Italian, you're going to find it difficult.
Yeah, it is. It's really tough. For the main reason is the funding you got to find. I mean, to do British Formula 3, which is which is basically what you aim to do, British or Euro Formula 3, you got to find 700, 1,000 Australian dollars to do a season in that. But you got to do 2 seasons in that. Then there's something like World Series by Renault, and then you could go to GP2.
Yep.
I mean, it's a lot of money. So you got to find people who are willing to back you and invest in you, and hopefully get a return if you end up in Formula One or like I did in Champ Car.
Alan Docking's been very good with Aussies down through the years, hasn't he?
Yep. I ran with Alan on my second year of British Formula 3, and Mark Webber ran with him, and I think John Martin's running with him now. He's another Australian who's trying to make it over there. So yeah, he's run a lot of Aussie drivers, and he's also Australian himself.
Yeah. Justin, from the other perspective, I guess we do think of Britain as the home of motor racing in Europe especially open wheelers. So many of the major teams are based there. I mean, even American open wheeler cars for a long time, Penske and teams like that actually made their cars in Britain. Being a smaller fish in a very, very big pond over there, how tough is it for you to break through there?
It's pretty hard, and it's quite the exact opposite problem. To some degree, we're a bit blasé about it all, and it's very hard to get noticed. So, there's a lot of drivers who don't have the funding. Like Will said, that's the biggest problem for any driver, is trying to get the funding to go through the different, steps on the ladder to progress up to Formula One or to Champ Car. So, it's trying to pick your way through there, trying not to spend too much money and do the right thing for your career. So it's not easy, but obviously we don't have to travel quite as far to get it.
On the subject of funding, you did something very interesting back when you were racing in F1, and I believe you're still doing it. Why don't you take us through it? Yeah,
I got to that stage where I'd been in Formula 3000, I won that, and tried to go to Formula 1. It didn't work out. Didn't get many doors opening, so I went away and did the World Series by Nissan, as it used to be called, and went back a year later to Formula One and told them I had a couple of $1 million, on which all the doors opened.
Funny that.
So yeah, so then it was a case of, okay, we've got to find this couple of $1 million, and we decided we had quite an interesting response when we said we're thinking of opening it up to investors to invest in my career, and had lots of people write to us and ask, okay, how do we buy these shares? And that's when we thought, okay, well, now rather than maybe saying 10 people at larger amounts, let's open it up to anyone and make the amounts much smaller and more affordable. And that's what we did. So we sold the shares. Each share was basically £1. The minimum you could buy was £500, and it just grew from that. So we managed to sell all the shares within 2 months, and it's the only way I could afford to raise the money to get into Formula One.
There was a bit of, obviously there were a lot of punters at the time that gave you a bit of a hard time about it, but obviously it worked. How did the investors get their return? Is it from the income that you bring in throughout your career, or is there Justin Wilson Inc.?
Well, there's Justin Wilson PLC is the company name, and basically when there's enough money in the company to divide that back up and give them back what they put in, that happens, and then after that they get a dividend, and until we reach a certain point, and then we close the company down once everyone's received double their money. So it's quite an interesting strategy. It's not as easy when you're not doing Formula One. Obviously the return is a bit slower, so everyone's being very patient, very, very helpful. But the money I earn now in Champ Car goes into that pot, if you like, and just waiting for there to be enough to pay back everyone what they originally put in. So everyone gets paid at the same time, trying to keep it fair and equal for everyone. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I mean, look, it sounds like a great idea, because obviously, let's face it, we don't call it big boys toys for nothing. I mean, it's an expensive business to get into, even at the lowest level. Yeah, so, it's not easy, but this was quite a commitment for everybody, for the investors and also for myself. It was, without this, there's no way I could have made it, but at the same time, it's still something there in my career that, I've got an obligation to, so, I've always got that to think about. Before
I get onto the Indy Carnival itself and your participation in the championship, Pathways. Now, before the split happened all those years ago, you could probably genuinely say just below Formula One, which I still assume is most race drivers' ultimate dream, whether they get there or not. There was probably on the same level Formula 3000, which is now GP2, and Champ Cars, or Kart as it was known then. And it was all one series. Everybody was kissing, making up and all that sort of stuff, and it was going well. Do the drivers these days still consider the Champ Car series, and for that matter, the other series, the IRL, a pathway, or do they look at them upon as series in their own rights, and that's what they aspire to?
Well, I think everybody's different. I know my younger brother is looking at racing in America as the final destination. He's not as focused on Formula One purely because he's seen my experience, and Formula One is still a pinnacle, but it's not as enjoyable when you're there than it is afterwards when you can say I was there.
I've heard that.
It's a shame really, and that's why I enjoy Champ Car, because you can enjoy it while you're racing in it. And for me, the best way of describing it is like going back to your youth and racing karts. You can wander around the paddock and see other people, drivers and teams, and have fun, but you're still serious racing at the same time.
Well, you had a taste of it through Paul Stoddart and Minardi with that test, I think it was with Will Davison, was it?
Yep, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
I asked the same question to you. I mean, what are your thoughts on it? I mean, do you look upon this as a pathway, or is it a final destination for you?
Well, for me, it was to end up in Champ Car was when I became a professional driver, and I actually got paid to do what I loved.
Yep.
So it can be a final destination for sure, but if you ever get an opportunity to get into Formula One, which a lot of Champ Car drivers have done, and actually returned to Champ Car, like D'Amato and Zanardi, yeah. I mean, they went to Formula One, and that's almost finished their careers, actually.
Yeah.
Have we heard any news on D'Amato, by the way?
Yeah,
he's doing okay. He's back in Brazil, I believe, right now. He came over to a couple of races and went to get his checkup at the hospital again, and he's doing well. So
we should remind our listeners too, I'm talking about Cristiano D'Amato, former Toyota driver, went back to American Indianapolis style racing, was in the Champ Car series, right?
Yeah.
And he was injured at Elkhart Lake in testing.
Yeah, hit a deer. Yeah, it's unfortunate because he just moved into a really good team. But I think Formula One's tough because you're just racing against your teammate. That's it. Because it's made up of manufacturers, and it's spread out. You got there's only 4 people a year, I reckon, that has a shot at winning that championship. Whereas in Champ Car, everyone has a shot, especially now since they've brought in a controlled chassis, engine, tyre. And really tighten the testing rules, so you can't, spend a heap of money and, basically outspend other teams and have a superior car. So it's a good series in that way. So if you're doing a good job, you're going to win a race. Whereas Formula One, it just depends on your team.
Let's start talking about Champ Car and the championship. First of all, I will ask both of you, where are you both sitting in the championship at the moment, Will?
At the moment, I'm sitting 4th.
And there's a separate championship too. There's a rookie championship and everything, but mind you, that really doesn't apply because you're in your
second year.
Second year. Yeah. Justin, yourself at the moment?
Currently second in the championship.
Second in the championship. Okay. And coming into Oz now. First of all, pressure. Coming back to Oz as an Australian representing your country. The team's even called Team Australia.
Yeah.
You were pole last year.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like coming back into the country?
Actually, I'm really looking forward to the race. Last year we definitely had the car to win it. We had the quickest car. I was driving well. We were leading the race. Just had an unfortunate incident with Sebastian Bourdais, and that actually happened the year before that as well. With my teammate took me out. So it's qualifying's always been good. This year, third time lucky. I just. For starters, I want to finish the race, but I also want to win it. I thought I'd have a lot of pressure last year. coming in, but it was funny. I never slept so well over a race weekend, considering all the PR and media that you have to deal with.
Yep.
Come Thursday night, just slept really well. Was quickest on Friday, same Friday night, quickest on Saturday, and it was just shut everything out and went for it, and I want to do that this year.
Is that the different culture? Because I'm sure, Justin, when you were in Formula One racing in the British Grand Prix, I mean, yourself, David Coulthard, Jenson Button, I mean, I understand the pressure on you guys is pretty horrendous from the tabloids and that over there. I mean,
it's pretty busy, but you have to learn to section yourself off from that and saying, okay, well, it's time to go racing. It's try and concentrate and focus solely on that. But it's never easy when you're getting pulled from left to right to do media stuff, around the race.
The culture in Champ Car, we hear often American auto racing, whether it be NASCAR, IndyCar, Champ Car, whatever, is much more accessible.
Yeah.
Can you describe it to us?
Yeah, I think it's a lot more fan friendly, and also within the paddock between the teams and drivers, especially in Champ Car, it's a really friendly community. That's the biggest difference I've found from Europe. In Europe, everyone's just very deadly serious sort of. And drivers don't really talk to each other.
Backstabbing, I think the word is.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that the culture or is it the money?
I think that's the culture. Mm-hmm. It's what you're growing up. That's how you're growing up, and you've got to do everything possible to win, and that's all there is to it. Whereas in America, I don't know, it's just a different feeling, and because everyone else is open, and you learn to be open, and if Will's got a problem with his seat, I don't mind telling him how I fix that same problem. And Will got a new steering wheel this year, and he showed it me, and it's helped me out. So as far as that's concerned, everyone's trying to help each other. If it's if Will needs to know how to set up his car, he's on his own. Yeah, and vice versa. If I'm off the pace and I need help, I'm on my own. But if it's to do with personal comfort or things like that, well, we don't mind sharing our experience.
Is there an element there of trying to help push the sport and the series as well?
There's definitely a part of that. We're all in this together, and because of the split that you've talked about, we have to do everything we can to promote ourselves and work with each other. So, maybe if we start arguing and create some rivalry, it might get more. But
we also get that with
I think the American drivers do that better, don't they?
Yeah.
I won't mention any names.
Alex Tagliani and Tracy, the big fight.
We're glad you said it because I was going to.
But and then they're best mates the next week, so it doesn't really matter.
No,
it's. I mean, that's just the way it is. I definitely don't think it's money because, it was like that when, in 99, 98, or back, it's always been like that. And, at one stage, kart was as big as Formula One with all the manufacturers and everything in it.
So,
it's
just the way it is.
Yeah, it's funny. It's just the way it is. It's the first thing you notice when you come over here, and then it just becomes normal.
I'll ask you both one at a time. Well, what's your favourite thing about the Indy Carnival?
Probably the support from all the fans. Like when I did the parade lap last year, I think it was awesome. And the party atmosphere. It's like a big party. It's like a schoolies for people who are like older people. It's just. Yeah.
And let's face it, on a global motorsport level, we Aussies haven't had a lot to really smile about down through the last 20 years, have we? Really, at a global level. And it's great to see someone. When you were on pole last year, everyone was just gone ballistic.
That was awesome. I couldn't believe it on that Friday when I came in, and the team, Derek Walker said, "You're on pole, P1." And that was that was great. The perfect timing. And coming up to that race, a few races before that, I've been really quick, but it just hadn't come together for me, and it just. That weekend, everything came together for me. It was the first track that I'd actually come back to, that I'd done in Champ Car. So, I was ready for it. And, it's still probably the best moment I've had in Champ Car, getting that pole. That was awesome.
Great stuff. Justin?
Definitely big atmosphere.
Yep.
So just really enjoyable, really good fun, and it's a great racetrack as well, and very, very demanding. It takes a lot to come out on top of this track. As Will said, he was dominant last year until he got taken out of the race, and I didn't even get as far as the race before I was taken out by some tyres. So
damn those tyres.
His tyres. So I snapped a small bone in my wrist on Friday, and I never saw the race. I was actually sat on an airplane flying home while Will was having his little contact with Sebastian.
Ouch. It's my understanding is that this race and the Long Beach, California race are basically the jewels in the crown of Champ Car. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a couple of others this year that have been fantastic. Edmonton is well received as well, and
Europe was
awesome,
well received.
Wasn't it? So
massive crowd in Europe.
Your team Australia, did brilliantly in that Canadian league.
Yeah, I mean, we were looking great there, and it was just only in the last sort of 5 races. We've had 2 mechanical failures. On the weekend, we ran out of fuel, and it's just been it hasn't been friendly to us. But hopefully, we've had our run of bad luck, and this next race we'll be right on it.
2 questions: your favourite track in your career, and your favourite track in the Champ Car World Series. Will?
My favourite track, I reckon, would have to be Bathurst. Actually, I just come to think of it, I don't think there's any track like that in the world. Spa's sort of up there. That's pretty awesome. Favourite track in the Champ Car World Series this year would be Australia. As far as street circuits go, and as far as road circuits go, probably Aston, I think, was pretty nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Justin?
I would say probably Spa, closely followed by Le Mans. I think that's a great track. I haven't experienced Bathurst yet.
The full LaSalle circuit?
Yeah. That's quite an experience. It's amazing that nobody really thinks about Le Mans as a great track, because everyone's thinking about the event, and it actually is a fantastic circuit. It's really fun to drive. But Spa is definitely one of those really cool driver circuits. Lots of elevation change. And
have you raced Le Mans without those chicanes on the Mulsanne, or they've been there since you've been there?
I've only raced it once in 2004, so it had the chicanes, but I can imagine it without. Those straights are very long with the chicanes.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. And then on the Champ Car calendar, coming fresh from Assen, I'm obviously going to choose that one.
Well, you did win there, I suppose.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fellas, I'd like to get you to say a few words to your fans before you go. Will, any message for your Australian fans?
I'd say to all my fans, come out October 21st. I think it's going to be a very good weekend for us. I think last year all the support that they gave me lifted me, and I had got my first career pole, and flew the Aussie flag in the green and gold colours.
Good stuff. Justin?
Yeah, well, just come out and support the race, and thanks for everyone that's already been to the race over the years. It's the highlight of our season is to come here, and it's the fans that make it. So thanks, and we'll hope to see you again.
Nobody's won it twice, have they?
Not yet.
No, it's been a different winner every race.
We were talking about that last night. It's the
years.
first. Yeah, it's the longest ever in the history of Champ Car. 16 races without a double winner. So and hopefully there isn't a double winner this year.
I'll tell you what, it'd go damn close to being in top level motorsport. That sort of record would stand too, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You would think around the place.
Has Sebastian won it before?
Yes.
I think he has. Has he?
I think so. 2004? No,
Maybe.
2005. I don't. It's just one of those races where anything and everything happens, so you just have no idea if your race is going well or if your race is going bad. 5 laps from the end, it can all change so quick.
Yeah, and also the weather plays a big part. It just, how many years has it rained there?
A couple. It only, we definitely come here to sort out the drought.
That's right. Yeah,
I was going to mention that actually. We've had a bit of a history of that. We went for years here without any rain, and all of a sudden one year the race was and just came. I think that's the year Mario Dominguez won or something like that.
Yeah.
That was that year. So maybe we need to move the race just for 1 year up to near Wivenhoe Dam.
Yeah, up to Toowoomba. Yeah, I need the rain there badly.
Do they ever?
Yeah.
Do they ever?
Hi, I'm Justin Wilson. You're listening to Coast FM Grandstand.
Thanks very much.
We
mate.
should both say each other's name and just confuse everyone.
That's good stuff.